Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to our second presentation on honoring our Indigenous heritage. We're so lucky today to have Amy Alston. She's a student in our ASBIW program in year 2. And I'm going to turn it over to her and let her presence herself and her teacher. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here, and looking forward to this amazing presentation.
Thank you, Lisa. I want to just take a moment to take each one of you in and welcome you and thank you. My name is Amy Enoka Alston, and I want to thank Lisa and the school for opening up this platform to give voice to our Indigenous cultures and to my culture. My Hawaiian lineage has always been a part of me since I can remember, something that I've felt deep in my bones. For me, I'm biracial, so I'm part Hawaiian, and I'm also part Caucasian. My perspective of my culture is that of both the insider and the outsider. And as I learn more about myself and more deeply about the roots of my culture, I discover more deeply values that are important to me. The values of pono, having the right alignment in how I live. Oya i'o, which is the truth. There's only one truth, and it's a universal truth. It's not my truth. It's just truth. The spirit of aloha, an unwavering, unconditional love. And ohana, the value of family, which is very important in the Hawaiian culture. And the family not only extends to my blood relatives, it extends beyond me to the ancestors and to my descendants who have yet been born. As part of presencing my culture and my heritage, it's important for me to bring in my elders, to bring in my teachers who share their mona'o, their thoughts and their wisdom so deeply and richly. And I don't talk about my culture very often because I just am. It is a place that is very tender. It still is a place of wounding for me and of great, great healing. And so with that, today's session, it's really going to be an open format of a talk story, something that we love to do in Hawaii. We sit on an open lanai and just talk. Whatever comes up and how it comes up. And so today, I've invited one of my teachers, Kumu Pa'a Lawrence Aki, to share his mana'o, share his wisdom, his ike with us. His teachings. He is a 50th generation, born on the island of Molokai, and the chosen one to share the teachings, the traditional teachings from his lineage. For me, what he shares resonates and strikes a very deep chord for me and the truth of what he shares. And that's why I've invited him. So for just a moment, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and take a deep breath as we transport ourselves to his lanai on the island of Molokai. Feel the soft breeze wash across your face. Hear the sounds of the birds and the fragrant smells of the flowers. Pull yourself closer as we listen to Kumu Pa'a Lawrence Aki.
Okay, Karen, unmute.
Yeah, we are unmuted.
Pulikako, let us pray. Aloha na akua, na aumakua, e kahiko kupuna, e Molokai nui a hina. Mahalo for being present. Mahalo for your constant awareness of Kanaka, mankind. Mahalo for that of the signs and visions, Ho'ailona. Mahalo for that of the Ho'iki, the revelations and the unfolding of Ho'ailona. Allow us at this point in time, that of Akua, Aumakua, and that of our ancestors, to have that of our pipiao, that of our maka, that of our ears and eyes to be fully opened, to be able to capture that of the ike, the knowledge, and that of the na'au, that of the wisdom to be shared today. We give thanks to that of Waikea, the Sky Father, Papa Hanau Moku, Earth Mother, that of Haloa Naka, the first of mankind's descendants, that of Haloa Maole, the second of mankind's descendants, that of our that we consider as that of the ancient ones. Allow us to take in that of our na'au, that of deep within ourselves, so as to bring forth that of our intuitions, with that of the na'olis to be shared, that of the mo'olelos to be shared, that of the hula dances to be shared. So at this moment in time, we mahalo you, Ke'akua, we mahalo you, Na'aumakua, we mahalo you, that of our ancestors. Protect us, protect this session, protect mankind from that of the Kolohe and Kapolo, and not allow them to interfere in this session and moment in time. And with that of the sacred words that has been handed down for many generations, we say, E amama, e amama, e amama. Mahalo ke akua. Aloha mai kako, everyone. I am Kumu Pa'a Lawrence Aki. I have this video to share with you at this moment in time. Look to the source.
kau hina ia ele ele me kapukai. O malu malu ka po. Ka mahia lani ma eo eo na mea apau. Ku me ka ohe mea kawika. Ho ike e nau ke ea. Ho ike e ka lele pueo ke ao makua. Aina ka pū o kukui lani kaula e mahia lani haku. Ma ka li'i ka hoku e ka pū e pū. Ma kani luna e ka pū e pū. E pa'a ke ho ike ana. Evelina mai kako. My name is Brandon Kavika Foster, and I am the Po'opuaha primary apprentice of my kumu, my teacher, Lawrence Kalainia Kamani Aki. He is the 50th generation of teachers from the valley of Halawa on the island of Molokai. We have a halau, a school called Mano Kahiko, the spirit power of our ancestors. This school preserves the wisdom and knowledge of our traditional Hawaiian lineage. The moku o hau hau is a chant of our school genealogy. It shares in order for myself all 50 generations of teachers within our lineage. It establishes the authority of the knowledge that we speak. I always say when people come to learn these teachings, you did not come to listen to me, you came to listen to them. Nani ke kumu, look to the source, is a teaching that has been handed down throughout the generations. The source is that of our elders, our teachers, and our ancestors. Till today, this knowledge and wisdom is taught through the oral practices of our ancestry, traditions such as hula, the dance, oli, the chants, and mo'olelo, the stories. It's through these traditions that we learn how key concepts such as aloha, pono, and pa'a interweave with each other. Hula is the rhythm, the pulse of our people. Through the ancient and modern forms of hula, history is preserved. Knowledge on all levels can be passed down. For those that dance the hula, it becomes a means of communicating to all the elements of nature. Hula becomes a dialogue in the space of silence between the dancer and the universe. Another fundamental teaching of our lineage is aloha ikikahi ikikahi, which means to love one another unconditionally. Hawaiians were taught to listen and hear their intuition way before any intellectual education began. We learn by watching, by listening, and by doing as our ancestors did, in order to get to a place where we know. To love and care for everyone and everything, as there is no separation between man and nature or land and the sky. We learn how to connect to the source by understanding our relationship to all things in this universe. We understand this relationship to be ohana, family. This is aloha. We all have a spiritual connection. It gives us a purpose and a reason to live. This connection enables us to be humble, patient, and willing to do the work that needs to be done. It is so simple, yet our lives have made it so complicated. We are here to acknowledge the spirit in all things and to have a reverence for life. This is pono. Pohaku, or stones, prevent us from knowing and dim our light. The light of the source that shines through us and provides us with all that we need. Stones or baggages are cleared regularly through the healing practices of ho'oponopono, lomi lomi, hula, and oli, prayer, and hana, the work. These practices allow us to return to the line of truth and create a foundation in the belief of our ancestors that is unshakable. This is pa'a. As the 51st generation, it is my responsibility to preserve with integrity the wisdom of my ancestors. I master this knowledge in order to ensure the path is visible for the next generation. If we follow it, we'll discover they have always been with us. Someone once asked me, what does the spirituality of your ancestors mean to you? I took a moment to think about this question, and in that moment I wrote down what came to me, and when I read my answer aloud, I found a stronger appreciation for the wisdom of my ancestors. From the depths of my consciousness, I reached down to the peak of my being to understand that which has always been there, the spirit of my ancestors within.
Mahalo, thank you to Barbara Brennan International Center and School of Healing, to you, Amy Enoka Alston, for the invitation to speak on behalf of traditional Kanaka Maoli, or what most people understand as Hawaiian, practices of forgiveness through Ho'oponopono as part of the Centers of School of Healing Native Project Program. As mentioned earlier, I am Kumu Pa'a Lawrence Aki. I'm going to ask something from all of you, and if you can do it very quickly. All right, everybody? With the exception of Mana o Kahiko and that of Mana o Molokai Haumanas, I want everybody to turn your videos off at this moment in time. Turn your videos off, please. What use have your ears for you and your eyes if you can't pay attention as to what is being said? Aole pilikia, Amy, Lisa, Rebecca. No trouble. Here's a lesson, a first lesson that I bring forth as part of the lessons of the teachings of my ancestors. Turn your videos off. I want to introduce to all of you that of Kumu Pa'a Kavika Foster of Halau Mana o Kahiko. He has been with me nearly 11 years. He is the first student that I had back in that of 2006. And in 2016, he was uniki'd. Most people understand it as graduation, but uniki actually in Hawaiian context, everybody, is that the breath of knowledge was passed on to him. And now it is time for him to teach that knowledge that was passed on to him. I share with you, sitting next to me, is that of Kumu Pa'a Kirian von Vliet. And in October of this year, 2020, she had her oniki. And she studied with me from 2010. I point out to you that of Catherine Roberts, who has been with me since 2010, and she is my po'opu'aha, that of my apprentice. And also here today, everybody, is that of my haumanas, my students of Mana o Molokai, Julia Adams, Jay Seal, and I'm not sure, but as well as that of Haley Main, but I'm not sure if she made it today. These are the students that I have, and they're the only students that I have. I want to make sure everybody understand that very, very clearly. Though I have many members of my classes, there's a great difference between students and that of members. But I'm not going to go into that. At this time, I want to share that of the lineage that I come from. And so we'll pull up that of a presentation that I use in many of my talking to people. And moving on from this, you know who I am. My teacher is that of Anakala Pilipo Solitario.
You want to go forward?
Yes. Today he is 81 years old. His teacher is that of Auntie Harriet Ney. Unfortunate, she has passed. I, as Amy has described for you, I am from the island of Molokai, and I am born in the valley of Halawa, Molokai. This is Halawa today. From that of my uncle, blood uncle, as well as that of my teacher of over 50 years, I present to you by name, prior to, and the list of at least an additional 8 teachers that has passed on. That of Ka'o, Pa'ahau Kekani, Luka Kawahini, Makaholo Kekani, Mahi'ai Kekani, Kama Eva Kekani, Kekahuna Kekani. These are teachers of the 50 generations that we speak of, but these are the teachers that I'm able to share with you as to where and how this knowledge that I speak of today, everybody, is handed down. Bu aikea e kalani e papahanau moku. E Molokai inui ahina ke aloha. Na akua na aumakua na poe kahiko. Aloha Aloha It is the chant of our mo'oku hao, and it goes down the list of all 50 generations to my time, where I am the 50th generation. But we don't have time for that today. But it gives you an idea as to this chant that generally is done as part of our protocol. I want to thank Amy for asking me 2 days ago if I would share our ancestral knowledge of the following subjects. 1, Po, darkness. In Hawaiian teachings, Po is the place of origin. There is a saying in that of our Kumu, and it's a genealogical chant that takes us back to the beginnings. And in there it says, E ka poe e hanau e ka a'o, which means, from darkness, born is light. And that is the other point brought to me 2 days ago by Amy as part of the subject that she hoped that I would be able to talk about. A'o, light. From darkness, born is light. Light was not created in that of the genealogical chant, the great genealogical chant called the Kumu. Light was born from darkness. In that of the subject that I really will be talking about today, Ho'oponopono, we say, huli your bowl of light to get rid of the pohaku, the stones that dim the light in your bowl. That's what we say in that of Hawaiian teachings. Huli is to turn your bowl. The stones that you have added in your lifetime into this bowl of light is now clogged. And so for this reason, you need to get rid of the pohaku. That was point 2 made to me 2 days ago of a subject to be talked about. Point 3 is aka. And aka, everybody, is this invisible cord. Aka is this unseen line of connection that we have in our understanding and our teachings of universal connection. And the fourth and final item that was brought forth to me as part of the discussion in hopes that we would have today is that of Pa'a. Pa'a is an unshakable foundation. Pa'a, everyone, is solid. I want to note to all of you, I introduced myself as Kumu Pa'a, and there's a reason for that. I am a teacher of foundation building of traditional Hawaiian healing. I teach practitioners and healers the protocols and how to become solid in what they do, and know and not assume, and not an opinion, but to know. So I will return to these these individual subjects later on, if time permits me. But please pay attention as to what is shared about Ho'oponopono, which I am certain will include those subjects that I just mentioned. So with that said, turn your videos back on if you so choose. So with that said, I want to return to the initial subject planned for today's presentation, Ho'oponopono and forgiveness. That is the planned subject for today. Ho'oponopono is a very complex subject, and in this time allotted to me today, I will attempt to share with all of you what traditional Ho'oponopono is or is not. And I share this video with you again.
Forgiving is going back, but going forward at the same time. You can't move forward without forgiving. Many times, the resolution is simply saying to your family or to your loved one that you love them, and literally speaking it. And that can create a massive reaction, especially when you're talking about relationships that have become very ugly, or in relationships where family members haven't spoken to each other in 10, 20 years. Even if the impact and the reaction is, well, I don't love you. Okay, good. But it's important that I tell you that I love you so that you can hear and you can understand where I am. When that happens on an individual basis or in a family dynamic, it completely changes the circumstances. You don't have to be best buddies, but it's important that it's stated and it's said clearly so that it opens up that relationship.
Traditional Ho'oponopono, everyone, is to correct, make right, to restore, maintain good relationships. With that of Akua, the source, the energy power, that of the higher being. In our case, that of the Aumakua, that of our guardians, as well as that of our ancestors, that of the Po'ekahiko. Traditional Ho'oponopono brings forth the understanding of bringing balance with our families and that of our community. The purpose of Ho'oponopono is to bring spirit, mind, and body back into alignment. Many a times, we are not aware of it. But many a times we fall out of alignment, whether it be on a spiritual basis or whether it be that of a mental basis or that of a physical basis. Whatever the case may be, just one of it to be out of alignment means that we need Ho'oponopono. In traditional Hawaii, everyone, in traditional Hawaii, Ho'oponopono was done on a daily basis within families. Removal, as described by our ancestors, of pohaku, of stones, from your bowl, allows the light, the a'o, to shine bright once more. And metaphorically, we utilize that of the understanding of we, the bowl, many times can be filled with stones, with pohaku. I like to personally call it baggage. And because of these pohakus, so we fall out of alignment. Anger, hate, your ego, jealousy are only some of the stones we want to clear from ourselves on a daily basis. To keep our line of communication, the aka cord, one of the 4 items that Amy brought up 2 days ago, to be free and clear of any clogging, so we can have dialogue with Na'akua, Na'aumakua, that of the guardians and our ancestors, and everything else in this universe. Earlier today, I said to all of you, Aloha mai kako. And there's a reason for that, everybody. And that reason is, as I sit in my office and I look out my open window, there stands 2 lemon trees. I also know and I feel the wind that is blowing through this office from my window to my side, to my right side. What I also know is right outside, up against the wall of my office, are the many different plants that was put there. They are our ancestors. And it would be so inappropriate for me if I was to say hello to all of you by aloha. And so this is the reason I use the term aloha kako, which is all inclusive. I am saying hello to each and every one of you that is here. I am saying hello to that of the lemon trees that is standing right in front of me outside of my wall, my window. I am saying hello to that of the wind that is passing through. I am saying hello to everything else that can hear that of my voice, including that of the ocean, which is right out my door, that of the clouds. And that's why it's very important for me to address all of you, which includes that of the ancestors of our plant lives, Papa Hanau Moku, Mother Earth, Waikea, the Sky Father, and everything that exists in this universe that is able to hear me. I want to define Ho'oponopono, or this word for you, Ho'oponopono, everyone. Ho'o, in that of our culture, in that of our, and context of our words, is to take action. So anything that has ho'o in it at its beginning or at any point of a word, action is necessary. Pono, because of the word ho'opono, pono. Pono is the goodness. Pono is the uprightness. It's the action that we need to demonstrate goodness. It's the action that we make. We need to have a life of uprightness. We need to have moral qualities, being virtuous, fair, honest. Note in the Hawaiian context, when words are repeated back to back, it stresses the importance of the original word. In this case, pono. So there is an emphasis when we say ho'o pono pono. There is an emphasis to that word of pono, which basically means in our teachings, take it very seriously. Let me now try to bring understanding to the purpose of Ho'oponopono. Traditionally, everyone, it was family driven. It was a process of forgiveness, as you noted in that of the video shared by Kumu Pa'a Kavika Foster. It is a process of forgiveness to bring balance spiritually, mentally, and physically. It is based on Hawaiian cultural social structure, based on that of the kulana of the lands that we have. It is based on that of the ohana, the families that we come from, and that of the community that we belong to. It's a way of life that we are born to. It's an understanding we have of the energies of the universe. It is the ike, the knowledge that is shared and has been shared for thousands of years in an oral fashion by that of our chants, by that of our stories, and by that of our hula, our dance. Auntie Edith Kanakaole, deceased today, of the Big Island of Hawaii, says the process of Ho'oponopono is done each day before the sun sets. She continues to say, it is so that everyone in the ohana, in the family, can have good dreams. Uncle Alex Pu'aha of Molokai, also deceased. He brings forth that forgiveness is first seeked from that of Akua. In this particular case of Ho'oponopono, a specific Akua, a specific higher being, and that is Akua Kani. Throughout the place that I come from, Halawa Valley, and very much true throughout the Hawaiian Islands, you will find these pohakus, these stones, like you see here. These boulders or these stones are called pohaku kani. For it is here that the family gathers, and it is here that the first forgiveness is asked from that of the higher being. This pohaku in that of Hawaiian context is considered vahipana. It is a sacred place, and where Ho'oponopono sessions for family begins. I want to now clarify for everyone what is not traditional Ho'oponopono. It is not a mantra that some of New Age teachings share. My personal note to people who have approached me in hearing my words that it is not traditional Hawaiian or traditional Hawaiian teachings, they say to me, but it works for me. My answer to that, great. But it's still not traditional Hawaiian, even if it works for you. Reading scriptures from the Bible and claiming this as traditional Ho'oponopono is also incorrect. Beware of books and videos of this modern age that claim to be about traditional Ho'oponopono or traditional teachings, but yet we find that these are nothing more but watered down version of what is traditional Hawaiian teachings. Everyone, the discussion of Ho'oponopono and the lessons of Ho'oponopono and the teachings of Ho'oponopono, as I mentioned earlier, is so complex. For the time that is allotted, such concepts like that of Akua and Aloha and Pono and Makau and that of O'ia'io, that of speaking the truth, and that of the Hana, the work that is involved and the layers and levels that is involved can never be shared in such a timeline. But what I do tell you, everyone, the Hana, the work begins. And the work is to understand the levels and layers. The work requires from us to have aloha, to be pono. It's not the fact that you have a choice whether you want to be aloha or if you want to be pono. It's not the fact that today you argue with your partner and it's fine with you. That is not pono. Alignment requires things from us, and it's not an option or a choice, everybody. Though I myself will tell you, if you are truly sitting on my lanai, my porch, and though I would share many things with you based on your questions, and answering your question based on the level that I hear it, I will always tell you it's your choice. But what I will also share with you is to what my uncle shares with me. Do you really have a choice if you are a healer? Such subjects like that of an understanding of such things like that of Ho'ailona and Ho'ike, everyone. In Ho'oponopono, you're dependent on that. Ho'ailona is the vision. Ho'ike is the revelation I share with you. When I was in Israel, everyone, in that of the year 2011, which I was asked to come there, after I did that of a retreat, or excuse me, that of a workshop in Amsterdam in 2010, there were these three ladies that was from Israel that attended this workshop in Amsterdam. And these ladies asked me to come to that of Israel in the year of 2011. My point to them was, what would a person like myself be able to share with such a old culture? Their answer to me was, after doing that of the entire workshop with me, was Aloha. So I looked at them and I said to them, I will consider your requests and I'll get back to you, ladies. So 2011, I headed to Israel, everyone. And in Israel, I was requested from the coordinator who did the planning for me to be there, that there was someone asking that wanted to do a Ho'oponopono, private Ho'oponopono session with me. And when I sat with this individual for 2.5 hours through a Ho'oponopono session, in my mind, it was probably the most clearest of sessions I've ever had in my life. And as we were about to close the session, because we start with a pulley and we end with a pulley, and as I was about to close this session between she and I, and also the fact that I had that of the coordinator of this workshop also there, as everyone was about to bow their heads, all of a sudden I looked up at her. Then she looked up and looked at me. And I said to her, have you murdered someone? And I'll leave that story there. There is so much more I would like to share with you, and I cannot share with you today, everybody. And I'll leave everything here today. As far as the discussion that we have had, I mahalo all of you for being here today. And I'll turn things back over to Amy at this time. Mahalo.
Wow.
Oh, Kumu, you left me hanging. Thank you very much for sharing. I would like to close with a pule and then open up for any questions, reflections that anybody would like to share with Kumu or about our culture. Kumu, will you please lead us in a closing?
Mahalo for the opportunity, Amy. Aloha ke akua na akua. Mahalo na aumakua. Mahalo e poe kahiko e kupuna. E amama, e amama, e amama. Mahalo ke akua. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes is just touching the surface of our culture and what we share, the wisdom. Thank you, Kumu.
Ole pilikia.
And at this time, if anyone has questions, reflections that they would like to bring forth, I invite you.
Aloha, everybody. I am Kumu Pa'a Foster. I'm the 51st generation. You saw a couple of my videos at the beginning of Kumu Pa'a Lawrence Aki's presentation. In the last 15 minutes that we have with one another, truly, if you're inspired to ask, or there's a particular subject or a sharing that Lawrence did that you would like to know more about, I encourage you fully to ask him. You know, his energy is a bit abrupt, as you can all tell. That's just his space. But he's a total soft, he's a total soft teddy bear inside. So totally ask your questions about the spirituality of our ancestors and take it there. Good to see you all. I'm glad to be here.
The last sentence of the story. Can you please repeat it?
I asked the individual as we were closing, as we were in position to prayer. And I looked up once again, and I looked straight at her. Her heads were also down, ready for prayer. And then she looked up and looked at me. And I said to her, "Have you murdered someone?" I hope that brings clarity to you.
Yes, now I understand the cliffhanger. Thank you.
You're welcome.
May I ask a question?
Absolutely. Ask away.
Aloha.
Aloha, Pamela.
Yes, my name is Pamela Schlade, and I am a graduate of the Brennan School. I currently live on Maui, and I am currently a student of hula, and I'm enjoying learning the dance. I feel like these islands are a part of my soul. And I've been working through trying to understand the teachings that I had with the Brennan School, and in conjunction with the Hawaiian culture. And I'm wondering if you, Kumu, and mahalo nui loa for all that you do and all that you teach, if you have any suggestions as to what I might be able to read. Or I understand that this is a verbal culture and is passed down by lineage, but if there's something that I might be able to read or understand on how to work with the energy here and how I can understand some of the teachings that I've been taught and how that relates to the Hawaiian culture.
Mahalo for the question, Pamela. There are a lot of good books out there today that fall in alignment to that of my oral teachings that I can suggest. But I also, at the same token, I do want to point out to you that a written version of our culture basically allows the interpretation of the reader.
Yeah.
I want to point that out to you, and I'll just leave it there. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But yes, there is one of the things I pointed out to you is of that of the bowl of light,
Mm-hmm.
and the lineage from that of a book called Tales of the Night Rainbow, written by that of Polly Lee and that of Coco Willis. Coco Willis lineage comes from the island of Molokai. Both Coco Willis as well as that of Polly Lee is deceased. That's a good place to start.
Okay.
We're fortunate in this day and age because of the fact that much that was written back in the mid 1800s was never and it was written in Hawaiian. It was never translated until recently. So, with that said, I can recommend also to you that of the book Nana Eke Kumu, which translates to look to the source, the very first film that we started with. Nana Eke Kumu is volume 1, volume 2, and recently, only within the last 3-4 months, they actually came out with volume 3. Of course, there are other books I can recommend, but don't have the time to answer the rest of it. You can get a hold of my wife, Kirin, via that of our website, manaomolokai.com, and she can share with you more books at that point in time. Mahalo for the question.
Mahalo.
I have a question.
Yes, Nora.
So thank you for sharing your teaching. It's amazing. I'm Nora. I live in London and I'm a third-year student of the Brennan School. I wanted to ask about forgiveness, which really caught me, and it's to do with what healing is necessary to really be in a place to forgive, because as much as you want to be aligned and you want to really forgive because you know it's better for you, it's really sometimes the hardest thing. So I wanted to ask really what sort of spiritual journey or what sort of step in your teachings we need to undertake to get to that place so the healing is, the forgiveness is genuine. It's not just, oh yeah, I forgive you, but actually the hurt and the the pain is still being carried in the heart. That's my question.
Mahalo for the question, Nor. Nor, this is one of the reasons why one of the things I point out in that of my presentation, Ho'oponopono is extremely complex. Ho'oponopono consists of so much levels. It is like any teachings in healing. There is so much layers, so much levels that is involved. And it doesn't happen overnight, but I understand the situation. I understand what you are requesting from me. All right. I want you to also recognize, Lord, that I am a guest speaker here. I want you to go back to that of your authority as far as Barbara Brennan International Center, probably that of Amy or one of the leaders of this or organizers of this. And let me suggest that you ask them the question of making contact with us. Okay? That's where I want to leave it at this moment and time. Is there an answer to your question? Absolutely. Is there a way of dealing with this? Absolutely. And yet, every individual is at different levels and different means of it being handled. And that's why I am Pa'a. I am a teacher of foundation. But nothing, absolutely nothing, Nora, can be shared in one presentation as to where it concerns healing. Mahalo for your question, and again, I suggest you go back to your leaders, all right? Mahalo.
I also have a question. Sorry if my video isn't coming out. About about forgiveness and ho'oponopono. I noticed that many different spiritual traditions are kind of converging on the idea that we are all unity on some level. We are all unified as one being, and therefore, does the Hawaiian spiritual tradition also help experience forgiveness by saying that, well, we're really the same person, we're really the same being, so we're just forgiving a part of ourselves that got detached or got lost or doesn't know that we're really the same person. Can you see it that way in Hawaiian spirituality?
I want to make sure I'm clear in understanding your question. Are you saying that we are all, that mankind as a whole is the same? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, together with the plants, the animals, you know, all of the elements, that we're all one on some level. And it being all one in unity, does that mean, is that make it a possibility for forgiveness, because we know on some level we're just forgiving ourselves, our own self?
One of the parts that has not been covered in one of the layers is that of what we call Luna Ho'oponopono. And the Luna Ho'oponopono is who conducts a Ho'oponopono session with individuals or with families. So that's one item that I want to point out to you, because it's just not anyone that does such items like that of Ho'oponopono. And yet there's so many other levels that is involved there. On a second item, I want to share with you, at the very beginning, I say that I am thankful from that of Barbara Brennan International Center, as well as from that of Amy Alston, for inviting me to be a speaker on behalf of traditional Kanaka Maoli, also known as Hawaiian. And it really depends on how you want to look at this, but Hawaiian is a American Congressional Act, everybody, meaning that's what they called us, is Hawaiian. And that's why it's important for me to say Kanaka. And I want to also point out to you the wisdom behind this word Kanaka that is passed down through the generation. Because Kanaka basically means nothing more than humankind. And if we take that interpretation as it is meant to be, you will understand, as part of the layers and levels, there is no difference between you and I. And that's where I'll leave it at this moment in time. And I hope I answered your question.
I do believe that. I don't know it yet, but I do believe that there is no difference between you and I. Thank you. Mahalo.
With you. There's another item I can share with you, Darlene. There are many people who attends my classes, my virtual classes. And one of the key questions I always have at all times, because everything I speak of the ancestors. I shared with you how I can take this knowledge of the ancestors and go 50 generations back, and yet even further. I want to point that out to you. And that has been handed down in an oral fashion through the generations. E kalamaimi. Excuse me. I'm much older than you think I am, everybody. And for those of you who have been with me and studied with me, you know what I'm about to say. I'm having a senior moment and I forgot as to what the hell I was going to share about. That's plain and simple. Okay. E kalamai. Forgive me, Darlene. But if it comes to mind, I'll share it. Mahalo.
And with that, Kumu, if there are no more questions, we are running over time, and I want to be respectful of everybody's space today.
Actually, I have one question. Kumar.
And I would like to invite Haruna or Rebecca, if you have anything that you would like to share in closing today.
Mahalo. Kumu, thank you so much for sharing yourself, your lineage, your teachings, your width and depth, and your love. I really appreciate that you came here for us. Thank you. Mahalo.
Mahalo.
And also thank you to your wife. Thank you. Mahalo.
Mahalo. I'd like to say that we just met a couple of days ago, and I already feel this kinship with you. We have very similar personalities, and I will come out to visit you if you'll have me. Thank you to Kieran, Rebecca, and Amy, and also to Lisa.
Orona, I said I like your name. And I meant that when I said it. Mahalo.
Mahalo.
Doors are open. I want to say mahalo to everybody for being here. Thank you. Especially to that of my students who had to get up, some of you with the wrong time in mind and getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. What can I say? As we say in Hawaiian, everybody, ahui ho, until we meet again. Mahalo.
Mahalo.
Thank you, Kumu. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Rebecca and Haruna. Kavika, I see you. It's so nice to see you on today. And my sister, who also is here visiting me, carrying my same lineage. So.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. And I really hope that this is just one of many that can happen again. I loved your teachings and it was so amazing. Thank you so much.